We're going to have our webinar on IPCRF data collection system for school year 2019-2020. For everyone who are here, welcome, umayong buntag. So this is the flow of our webinar. And to give us the opening message, let's call in the Director of BHROD, Officer in charge of the Office of the Director 3, Dr. Jennifer E. Lopez. Ma'am.
Hello, Kaloy. Nice to see you all. So ito po yung ating bagong version ng Get Together and helping one another. This is the new normal because of the pandemic. We'll be having 4 batches. Please provide us feedback in order to help you or to serve our people better. Again, congratulations to our HRDD team, the RPMS team in particular, Angelo, and then si Kaloy to help us in particular in the RPMS. So, bakit po tayo may ganitong klaseng webinar ngayon? At because maraming nagtatanong sa field, what's the plan of the BHROD for this RPMS, which was before very controversial, but later on they have realized that while we are in the service, we have to, of course, ensure that we're performing well. So unang-una, because of the COVID. So how are we going to prepare our teachers, our raters, and other DepEd personnel, lalong-lalo na po kayo na mga katulong namin, counterpart namin sa field, in the RPMS, lalong-lalo na ngayon sa implementation ng Phase 3 of the RPMS cycle kasi nawala ng, naputol na. Nagkaroon na tayo ng COVID way back March 13, 14, 15. So, nung time na yon, so buti na lang sasarado na talaga ang school year. So, hindi masyadong naapektuhan totally yung ating classes. However, the Phase 3 and the Phase 4 of the Results-Based Performance Management System was cut short. So, ayaw natin pong mag-isip pa ng kung ano-ano o makadagdag pa sa mental health issues ng ating mga teachers, ng ating mga personnel. Naisipin nila, how are we going to cope with this? Nagkakagulo na nga ang paligid, and then we're burdened by the performance management system of the civil service actually. And DepEd, as one of the implementers of the RPMS, of course, we need to follow. So, but ang sagot ko nga, sabi ko nga, despite the COVID pandemic, the BHROD through HRDD will adjust all of our HR systems just to help our personnel to cope with this pandemic. Lahat po yan. So from hiring, may ginagawa dyan sina Cecil at may iba pong mga divisions na humihingi ng tulong din sa amin how to conduct even the hiring process online. So, nag-o-observe doon ang ilan nating members of HRDD. And then, of course, this one is the second one. The second HR system is the RPMS. So, paano tayo ngayon? So, kung ang issue natin ngayon dito sa webinar is only Phase 3 and Phase 4, baka may magtanong na rin sa inyo, paano starting June or paano starting August 24? So I don't know if the team will still conduct another one just for that purpose. But that Phase 4, the rewards and recognition system of the HR systems, ay yun yung ating issue ngayon. That's why we do have the seminar or the webinar, okay, just to help you how to do it, how to help our DepEd personnel, more importantly, our teachers and our school heads. Sana, sa pagkascade po ninyo nito sa ating mga kasamahan sa field, wag po nating iparamdam na ito ay burden sa kanila. Regardless of the situation, we're here to support them and then help them to deliver their mandate. And we're always here as HR practitioners. As far as I know, may mga kasama pa tayo sa field. Tama ba, Angelo, Cecil, and Kaloy? We have here Mr. Kevin Milo. Tama ba? And then Mr. Jekyll Kadumog ba? Kasama ba natin sila ngayon to assist you on how to do this? Salamat din. Hopefully mag-enjoy po tayo. Hindi na natin patatagalin. Enjoy po and then enjoy our get-together through this webinar. Kung kinakailangan may isa pang pumustahan just to see each other around, narito po ang help desk. Okay, para tulungan kayo. Yun lang po at stay safe and sana ay mapagtagumpayan natin itong COVID. Ha? Let's heal as one nation, as one DepEd. Thank you again and good morning.
Thank you po, Director Jilo. Tama po, let's heal as one and stay strong at home. So with us today, we have our two resource persons in the person of Sir Kevin Milo, a Division ITO of SDO Igacos, Region 11, and a Regional ITO from Region 9, Sir Jekyll Kadungog. And also this morning, we are the moderators, yours truly, Sir Carlos Villamas III, and Sir Angelo Uy from BHROD. Ito po yung rules na ating susundan for the entire webinar. Use the chat box for sharing your thoughts and question. Practice collegial exchange of idea. Next, set to mute your microphone and videos all throughout the webinar. And lastly, ensure that your screen shows all the time the slides and videos being presented. Thank you. For us to know the rationale of this activity, let me call in Miss Cecil Anyayahan.
Maraming salamat po. Ayan, magandang umaga po sa lahat. So we're very happy to see you virtually po, no, for this this is our first webinar to be hosted by the Human Resource Development Division. So it's been like how many days na naka-quarantine po tayong lahat. And lucky for those areas that you transitioned already to general community quarantine, no? Kami po, for example, in NCR, still in ECQ and nearby provinces such as Calabarzon, and then I think Region 3 also, no? So for today, yes po, before we proceed to our main discussion about the IPCRF collection, I requested actually the team of RPMS to have this session with you. So about 6 slides just to explain what will happen now to the performance management system of the department given, well, in the new normal. Kasi alam naman po natin na we are transitioning and adapting, no, to the post-quarantine scenario. So just to give you a little bit of context, and we expect also that being in the HR, we should be at the forefront of providing and ensuring that basically our delivery of services will still continue despite some limitation and despite our situation. So just to give you a little bit of our context, so there are things basically that currently we know about our situation and aspects that we don't know, or something like uncertain and still ambiguous. So for the things that we know, sige po, so we know that the virus is contagious and easily transmitted and therefore can be fatal. So alam nating lahat yan. And there is no available vaccine right now. And therefore, for whatever situations that we are, whether we are in ECQ and GCQ, so yung strict physical distancing will still be our new norm. And then there will be like limited movement of people depending on the quarantine restrictions. So even at the GCQ level, alam ko pong nararamdaman din po natin yan. And therefore, mass gathering will be limited and banned nga po, no? So yung ating mga usual face-to-face convergence, symposium, workshop, yan po ay malilimitahan until such time na, okay, we're going back to the old normal, no? So, and therefore, alam din natin na yun nga, families and workers worry about their occupation in one way or another, especially our constituents. And of course, they worry about yung expenses for their daily living. So, on the other side of it, ito yung mga bagay that we are uncertain. No? We don't know when is the vaccine will be developed and made available to the public. So, therefore, our normal, the new normal will be the limitations brought about by GCQ and ECQ. And if we don't know also if we can achieve immunity from the virus. So for example, if the vaccine will be available, ibig sabihin pa that will serve as blockers for us to get that virus, no? And then the possibility of series of outbreaks once community quarantine will be lifted. So yung laging po pinapaalala ng gobyerno na even though nasa GCQ na tayo, there will be possibility na meron pa ring possible outbreaks. So yun po. And then, how safe? We don't know how safe we will be when we go to out when we go out and then return to work after post-quarantine. That's why tinitake into consideration din po ng ating mga officials, no, yung basically yung pagbabalik po ng ating mga empleyado. And of course, yan, lahat po tayo pag nasa work ay nakamask. So this is our context, things that we know and we don't know currently. So next po. So the anticipated new normal scenario are as follows. So basically on your left, these are the new changes, and then as a response, yung nasa right po ninyo, ito po yung mga possibility at nangyayari na po ngayon. So for example, adoption of alternative work arrangements, wherein, yun nga po, there's a possibility that some of us will be working from home. Kagaya po nito, we are on virtual teams. And then the possibility of adoption of staggered working hours or the 4-day work week. So we don't know until such time na yun nga po ay ma-lift na po or there will be issuance on this. And then of course, stringent physical distancing, which is required, therefore less face-to-face interaction. So our modality will now be availability of the online platform, and tools should be in place, no? Especially in the workplace. And then as far as employees, yun nga, our employees, even you yourself or ourselves, are still on the process of adapting and adjusting into the new norm. So therefore, may mga new standards for working at home already. And then may mga new ways of, yan, there will be possible new ways of assessing performance. And yun nga, yung rise of work disruption, especially for those working at home. Imagine nyo po that you are now, technically, we are at home working, no, amidst the crisis. So therefore, ang gusto nating i-mitigate as far as HR is concerned is yung possibility of yung rise ng work disruption. And very critical ngayon po yung upskilling of technology, both the infra, the IT infra, and at the same time yung soft skills. When I say soft skills, ito po yung mga skills, new sets of skills na kailangan po ng ating mga empleyado. For example, paano paggamit nitong Google Teams, ng MS Teams, ng Zoom, ng Workplace, Hangouts, Google Hangouts, so something like that. Meron pang mga Slack, something to that effect. Including, so this gathering will basically focus, no, in a one way or another, yung improvement, even prior pa the COVID situation, and at the same time po, yung, yan, how we adapt into the new normal in terms of consolidating, no, yung ating pong performance rating. Okay, so the next few series of slides is actually just to give you an idea for our HR focus in RO and SDO. So we see these as our sort of tips and also anticipation of what will be the changes or what will be the changes that will brought about by the new normal in terms of one of our HR system, which is performance management. And we see that you may need this, no, in doing it and operationalizing what is now the work arrangement and how do we now assess and how do we make our employees still productive despite the limitations. So yung 3 bubbles po are basically the 3 things that we see for us to effectively manage yung performance po ng ating mga empleyado. Okay? So first is engage our employees in the process of navigating the new normal. So we see that we need to value yung individual journey on adapting to the new normal. While we all experience, no, this new normal, the way we react and the way we respond basically into the new normal depends on our individual disposition and life context. So therefore, we need to see, no, and we need to value then yung kanilang individual journey as a person and at the same time as an employee. As an HR also, we should be at the forefront of making sure that offices, no, within our SDO, within the RO, even at the central office, should at least revisit and create office/services continuity plan. Alam ko po, pinagdaanan na po ito ng ating mga SDO as we brought about our learning continuity plan. But as an office, it is critical na meron pong ganito. So, halimbawa, identify what services can be done online, and then what services also can be do face to face with limitations, so something to that effect. But at the same second, we need to also redesign the floor plan or the workflow, in view of the new normal, in consideration of putting some protective barriers within the office. So yung mga spaces ng tables ninyo, for sure, yung mga nag-GCQ, inayos na rin po yan. And at the same time, ensuring the delivery of services. So, and also give consideration, but the real essence of this one is that give consideration to the human aspect of the organization. So ito po yung critical, because this aspect is basically, ito po yung panghahawakan natin, ensuring the health and safety of our personnel. Okay, so the next bubble will focus of, as a second idea, is for us. HR should also be in the forefront of this one. Ito yung critical sa ngayon as we transition into the new normal. Set up mechanism or protocol on the new standards of working. So therefore, anong ibig sabihin yan? Critical dito is the leadership adaptiveness of your leaders, your chief SGOD, your chief SCID, aside from also instructions from your SDS or ASDS or the RDs, ARDs. But the chiefs of the functional units, adaptiveness into the new normal is very critical. So basically, we need to redefine the standards for working at home or working in the office, having some skeleton workforce arrangements. So therefore, leaders should now be assessing more of leaning towards output base. So if you are the leader or the heads of the office, basically your assessment now will you be assessing faster response over a better response? Or, for example, longer days in the office over a productive days. So ganyan yung mga bago nating redefining work standards. So while we don't see each other's yung micromanaging technically will not work under the new normal. So you allow your employee to basically give them independence to do their own, but yung set norms should be established at yung rules in terms of delivery of output. It is also essential for our managers to have a clear understanding about what tools or platform to be used by the team in terms of check-in, checking the attendance, and then at the same time, guide them as to ano yung mga deliverables for the week. So your work from home planner will help you. So these are some of the tools. And of course, yung team tracking and monitoring ay medyo critical, From our end, just like in HRDD, so we really establish, as much as possible every week, this will be your deliverables and expected output, whether continue task yan or whether new deliverables. So something to that effect. So basically, in terms of managing performance, our new normal will be more of output-based but maintaining quality output-based. So therefore, yun nga po, critical dito yung how do we monitor now performance into the new normal. So my last slide is about, of course, which is essential, in ensuring that our employee will still be productive in the new normal is yung provision of support. While we establish and have orientation to our employees and clarify new work processes and expectation in the new normal, essential for our HR and also the line managers, our chiefs of functional divisions, including our school heads, itong mga ito. So yung provision of support for employees. So protect yung mental health. Oo, so medyo yan yung nakaka-worry sa panahon ngayon. An area where people can vent out their worries, not necessarily resolving their worries, something that they can vent out lang yung kanilang mga issues and somehow guiding them. And of course, their well-being. So this is the primary essential as being, yan nga po, no, being emphasized by our secretary, yung ensuring the safety and health of our personnel despite our move to really deliver the expected services that our counterparts or constituents expect from us. So we encourage our HR for you to provide and do intervention or learning session about COVID, how to cope with some worriness, and then lifting their spiritual and emotional well-being, no? So that somehow will give them, yun nga, yung comforting, and of course, yung conduct of mental health checks, even kahit sa chat group lang or as simple as that, an intervention, kamustahan. So, and activities that somehow will bring back yung solidarity and unity among our employees as they return to the work. Yung second dyan is the upskilling and technology. So as mentioned by Ma'am J-Lo, no, even our L&D interventions, our implementation and delivery will now be, yun nga, transition also into the new normal. No more face-to-face, if ever meron man, but very minor. So therefore, yung IT infrastructure should be set and new skill set should be addressed, no? Yan yung mga kailangan nating i-prioritize. How to use this monitoring tool, kung whatever, kung anong i-adapt na inyong mga SDO, paano gagamitin yung meeting, virtual teams meeting, and then yung check-in, how do they monitor. So whatever infra that you will use, it is critical for us to orient them and guide them how to cope with this. And of course, yan, yung culture of collaboration. So while we are in virtual teams, so sana hindi po ito mawala, and more we intensify yung culture of collaboration despite being in virtual. So that's why. And critical for our, yun nga po, employees that we manage is still the coaching and mentoring remotely. So a simple message on as to ways forward, a simple one-on-one video chat on how the person is coping with, and then how's with the, yun nga, how things or deliverables in their plate. So something to that effect that will basically. So if you can see, technically, performance management is still the same. Yung mga basic essential niya. It's just that the delivery or the mode that we are doing these things will now be virtual and online. So, ito pong mga bagay na ito yung nakikita namin. So, as we move to our main agenda, which is basically the next slide po, no? So, the objective of this activity is basically to prepare you muna, no? And so on, our teachers, our raters, and DepEd personnel who are involved in the RPMS in implementing the Phase 3 RPMS cycle for school year 2019-2020 muna. Kasi alam nyo naman, ang mga damdamin ngayon ng mga guro amid the COVID-19 situation and while transitioning to the new normal. As mentioned by Ma'am J-Lo, we want this to become easy and make them, no, sana magawa natin paraan na hindi ito for mere, well, aside from compliance, but making sure na they will take it light and easy. That's why our ICT team in the RPMS did this, no, IPCRF Excel and electronic form, and of course orient you on, aside from accomplishing the electronic IPCR form, yun, submitting the in the submission of the IPCRF of teachers, especially you in the schools division office, and how to monitor the submission of the IPCRF online. So ito po yung mga bagay na tatalakayin po for this event and for this activity. So with that, doon po natatapos ang aking session, and we hope you pick something, no, as we in the HR, no, be in the forefront of operationalizing what is now the new normal in the Department of Education. So with that po, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Okay, so thank you po, Ms. Cecil, PDO4 ng HRDD po. So tama po yung sinabi niya that as HR practitioner po, we have to maintain and balance the mental health and to ensure that all our personnel are well taken care of po. Ayun. So, salamat po, Ms. Cecil. So, this time, ito po yung mga topics na ating susundan for the entire day. So, if you can remember, during your registration, you have filled out this information. Ano po yung alam nyo about IPCRF ng school year 2018-2019? At ano naman yung gusto nyong malaman doon sa IPCRF data collection natin for school year 2019-2020? So, ito po yung mga nakulit at ito po yung mga na-summarize natin na responses coming from you. What you want to learn are the following: the updates on how the existing system were made more user-friendly, the specific roles and responsibilities of DepEd personnel involved, like from the schools, papuntang SDO, hanggang sa ROs, and how does this new system adapt the new normal. Another thing is, how can we utilize the result more efficiently? The platform that we'll be using, and the revised timelines in relation to the COVID-19 situation. So the rationale of this RPMS data collection system are to better support the continuous professional development of teachers based on the PPSP. DepEd BHROD seeks to establish baseline data to teachers' proficiency level on the first 12 PPSC indicators and on the succeeding indicators. Also, all public schools need to submit data from teachers' individual performance commitment review form for each rating period. And lastly, there is a need to establish a system that will enable collection and submission of RPMS data across governance levels. At itong slide na po ito, makikita nyo ito as extracted. Extracted po ito galing sa DepEd Memorandum 45, Series 2020. As you can see, dito sa sa slide, instead na we're asking for COTs for efficiency, tatlo na lang po. We understand that in the last quarter, specifically in the later part of March, nagkaroon po ng outbreak ng COVID-19. Kaya po, instead of asking for COTs and for supporting documents or supporting MOVs for efficiency, we are now changing or recalibrating it to 3. And for more details about that, please read DepEd Memo 45, series of 2020. Ayan po. Yan po yung substantiation niya. So for everyone, alam po natin na pag-release po, ito po ay na-release sa BHROD Facebook page. Pag-release po nito, nung link, ang lahat po ng teacher ay talagang na-overwhelmed. Download sila ng download. Tapos sabi na, sir, bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? Maraming mga tanong. So later po, yung mga most frequently asked questions, yun po ipipresent po natin at bibigyan po natin ng kasagutan. And also, please be reminded that all IPCRF, electronic IPCRF file downloaded on May 4, 2020 onwards, yun po yung pinaka-updated. As part of the DepEd Memorandum 45, Series 2020, it says that there is a postponement of RPMS year-end review for school-based personnel. And also, it will only be resumed until such time that safety for all DepEd employees is declared. Okay, so ito na po yung isa sa pinaka-thrilling na part ng ating session po. The session 1 is on the accomplishment of the IPCRF. Dito po yung mga tanong ng mga maraming teacher kung bakit hindi sila nakaka-input, bakit hindi sila nakakapasok, bakit may mali, bakit ganito, gusto po namin ng password. Tingnan po natin, galing po sa talk ni Sir Kevin Milo, malalaman po natin kung paano po ba i-accomplish ang electronic IPCRF. Sir Kevin.
Yes, Sir Kaloy, thank you. Good day, everyone. My name is Kevin. For this session, I'll be talking about the IPCRF electronic tool for the school year 2019 to 2020. Before I show you how to use it, let me tell you a little bit about the tool. First, the tool is a Microsoft Excel macro-enabled workbook file with a .xlsm file extension designed for offline use. It contains printable templates for the IPCRF parts 1 to 4, as well as an encoding form that collects data for COT and IPCRF QET ratings, and data for core behavioral competencies. So who will be using this tool? There are two types of users, the rater and the ratee. For the purposes of this presentation, I've simplified the flowchart, taking out all the steps that don't necessarily involve the electronic tool, while still following the procedures we previously set. First, the rater downloads the IPCRF electronic tool, encodes the ratee's data, then encodes the COT and QET ratings. At this point, the rater hands the electronic tool to the ratee, who encodes parts 2 and 4, then gives the file back to the rater or to the school head for submission online. We've identified 5 major steps, each involving several activities. We'll discuss each step in the process, except for the submission, which will be discussed in a different session. Let's begin with downloading. First, let's slip into the role of the rater. Here are the activities for step 1, download and extract. The first thing we must do as a rater is to download a copy of the new IPCRF electronic tool. Keep in mind that the versions that you may have obtained prior to May 4 should no longer be used. The system will not accept them. If you obtained a copy of the tool recently, ensure you have the version with a proficient tool that has automatic ratings of 5 in Objective 10. Any version other than that is no longer valid. So where does one download the tool? You can find the tool by opening this link, which takes you to a Google Drive folder. In there, you will find a zip named DepEd Prescribed IPCRF Parts 1 to 4 SY 2019 to 2020. Simply right-click on the file and click Download. When you have downloaded the zip file, you must then extract the Excel file from inside it. It is important that you remember, and I recommend you emphasize this when you cascade to the field, that you should not open the IPCRF Excel tool without first extracting it. In the past, some users have complained that they cannot edit or save the Excel tool, or that the data they encoded is lost after saving and closing Excel. That was probably due to this missed step. In Windows, it is easy to identify a zip file. These 3 icons are examples of how it looks like. The first one is when you do not have a file compression software installed, such as WinRAR or 7-zip. The default icon in Windows is a folder with a zipper. In some cases, the file may look like the last 2 icons, a stack of books bundled together with a belt. To extract a zip file in Windows, assuming you don't have a file compression software installed, there are generally 2 methods. I'll quickly show you how to do it using the 2 methods so it's clear to everybody, as well as offer you suggestions of how you can cascade this to the field. The first one is to right-click on the file and then selecting or clicking Extract All. This opens the default extraction tool in Windows. Simply select the destination or leave it as is and click the Extract button. This will create a new Excel file outside the zip. You can then open this Excel file. For the second method, you can do this by opening or double-clicking the zip file. This does not open any other program or window. It opens in the same File Explorer window and looks as if you've just opened a regular folder with a single file in it. But do not be fooled, you are still inside the zip file. Notice the Extract menu in pink at the top of the window. This tells you the view is of a compressed folder. This is when some users make the mistake of opening the Excel file. I'll remind you again that you should not open it before extracting it. To extract it, you can drag and drop the file into the desktop to create a copy of the tool. You can also copy and paste the file from here, or you can click the Extract All menu at the top, which is similar to the method A which I showed you earlier. For Mac users, double-clicking or opening the zip file should automatically extract the Excel tool. Now that we've downloaded the IPCRF electronic tool, let's proceed to the second step, which is to encode the ratee's data. Here are the activities for step 2, opening the Excel IPCRF electronic tool, enabling editing, enabling macros, encoding the school's data, encoding the rater's data, making copies, and encoding the ratee's data. To begin, we need to open the Excel file. When opening the IPCRF electronic tool, here are a few things you need to remember. You must open it on a laptop, tablet, or desktop PC running Windows or Mac OS. You cannot open the tool using any kind of mobile phone, tablets running Android or Windows RT, the iPad or Chromebooks, and other laptops running Windows RT. In addition to the types of compatible devices, here is a list of the programs and apps you can and cannot use to open the IPCRF electronic tool. You can open the tool using the desktop app of the Microsoft Office Excel with the following versions. For Windows, it's 2010 and 2013. For both Windows and the Mac, it's 2016, 2019, and Office 365. Note, you should not use the online or web versions of Microsoft Excel because macros aren't supported. You also cannot use these programs. If you are on a Mac, do not open with Numbers or older Office for Mac apps, versions 2004, 2008, or 2011. Furthermore, you should not use Google Sheets or any other Microsoft Office alternatives such as WPS Office, LibreOffice, or OpenOffice. Note that if you open the IPCRF tool with any of the apps in the Don't column, in other words, not Excel, the tool is forever broken and you need to download a new copy. Again, it's important that you emphasize this when cascading to the field. There were cases reported that the macros don't work. The reason it turned out was because they were not using Microsoft Excel. If you are sure that your device and your app are compatible, you can then open the tool. When the tool is opened, Excel automatically puts the file in protected view for security reasons. It does this for files downloaded from the internet. Notice the yellow bar that says Protected View below the ribbon. You need to click the Enable Editing button so you can begin editing the file. Otherwise, it will remain disabled in Protected View. On the Mac, it's more straightforward. Excel will greet you with a dialog box with an alert asking whether to enable or disable editing. Just click Enable Editing. After enabling editing, you also need to enable the macros, which are disabled by default. Click the Enable Content button to allow macros. Failure to do so means that Excel won't be able to run the custom code that makes the IPCRF tool work. On the Mac, again, Excel will greet you with a dialog box with an alert asking whether to enable or disable the macros. Click Enable Macros. In Windows, if you do not see the Enable Content button in the yellow bar below the ribbon, it does not necessarily mean that the macros are already enabled. After confirming that they are disabled, for example, when an error message is shown saying so after clicking a button, you need to perform this suggested workaround. In the ribbon, click the File menu. In the available options in the vertical panel to the left, find Options. It is usually found at the bottom. Try to scroll down the vertical panel if you do not see it. Click it when you find it. This opens the Excel Options dialog box. On the panel to the left, find and click the Trust Center option, usually found at the bottom of the list. In the Trust Center, find and click the Trust Center Settings button. The Trust Center dialog box opens. In the panel to the left, find and click the Macro Settings. Under Macro Settings, click Enable All Macros. Ensure that the radio button for the Enable All Macros option is activated, then click the OK button. This closes the Trust Center dialog box and returns you to the Excel Options dialog box, and just click the OK button again. Close all open Excel workbooks and reopen the IPCRF tool to apply the changes. Now, assuming you have enabled the macros, you should now be ready to encode the ratee and raters data into the form. But before that, I'd like to take a little detour. Let's look at the different parts of the tool so it makes sense to you when you encode data later. This Excel workbook has 4 usable tabs or sheets. You can usually find the sheets at the bottom of the Excel window. The electronic tool has the templates for all the parts of the IPCRF, each on its own tabs. These are the Part 1 to 4 tabs. But the first tab you'll see when you open the tool is the Encoding tab. Here are the properties of each tab. For the Encoding tab, it is editable because it contains the data collection form. It is also protected, which means you cannot modify this sheet. Only white cells are editable. This form is also non-printable. For parts 1, 2, and 3, they all have the same properties. They are all not editable because all data that are needed for these parts are encoded in the Encoding tab. They are all protected and not editable and printable. The Part 4 tab is editable but also not protected to allow the users to make any necessary changes for crafting the development plans. And of course, it's printable. Let's focus on the Encoding tab. Part 1, and just below that is Part 2. Let's go back to the top. Now, let's proceed to the next step, which is encoding the school's data. Here is the part where you need to encode the school's information. There are several fields. First is region. Region field is a drop-down option with the following options available. The second field is division, which is another drop-down box whose options depend on the selected region. Next is district and/or municipality, school ID, which only accepts 6 digits school IDs from 100,000 to 699,999. Next is school name. We recommend you input the complete and proper name of the school. Next is school type, which is another drop-down option between urban and rural. Next is school size, which is a drop-down box for small, medium, large, or very large. And the last field for the school's information is curricular classification. Here are the choices. Note that the choice you select in the curricular classification field will affect choices that will be available in the preceding parts of the tool, specifically the level taught, grade level taught, and subject level taught. Next, we encode the rater's data, which contains only 3 fields. First is the rater's name, and we recommend you use this format: last name, comma, first name, and then the middle initial. Next field is the position, which is a drop-down option between these positions. And the last field is date of review, which accepts date from February 2020 and onwards using this format. At this point in time, this field is not required. You only need to encode the date of review when finalizing Part 1. Okay, after finishing encoding of the school's information and the rater's information, you need to save the Excel workbook and then close it. What we've done so far is basically make a template. Remember, the rater is doing this. He or she must prepare all the IPCRF files for each of the teacher that he or she will be rating. Suppose I need to prepare the IPCRF tool for one teacher. I will just duplicate the template that I've created and then rename the duplicate to include the name of the ratee or the teacher that I will be rating. Then I will open that file. Now, don't forget to enable editing and enable macros for this step. You need to do that every time you open the IPCRF tool. Now let's proceed to the next step, encoding the ratee's data. Here are the fields that you need to accomplish. There are several fields. Let's begin with the name of the employee. Again, we recommend you use the format that you used for the rater field. last name, comma, first name, and then middle initial. Next, you select the position, which is a drop-down option between teachers 1 to 3, SPED teacher 1 to 5, master teachers 1 to 4, and special science teachers 1 to 5. Remember that when you change the position, or when you change the data for this field, it also changes the form. For example, if you select a position that uses the proficient form, Part 1 for this tool changes accordingly. If you select, for example, Master Teacher, the form will change into the highly proficient form. Now you will know that the form has changed by looking at the background color. It will turn green for the proficient form, blue for the highly proficient form. Next, the employee ID number, employment status, which is a drop-down option, age, sex, which are also drop-down options. Next is level taught. The options available here will depend on the selected curricular classification under the school's information. As I mentioned earlier, whatever you selected in the curricular classification will determine the options that will be available here. For example, if I selected in the curricular classification kindergarten to grade 6, the options that will be available here will be kindergarten and elementary. If, however, I chose kindergarten to grade 10 in the curricular classification, the options that will be available in the level taught field will be kindergarten, elementary, and junior high school, and so on. Next is grade level taught. This option depends again on the selected level taught. For example, if I've selected elementary in the level taught, the options that will be available here will be kindergarten to grade 6. If I chose junior high school, the options that will be available here will be grade 7 to 10, and so on. If you've selected else in the subject taught, which is the next field, the grade level taught field will be disabled. Next is the subject taught, which is a list or a drop-down list of all the subjects. This field changes to strand if you've selected senior high school in level taught. Then we have number of years in teaching, highest degree obtained, and area of specialization, which are all drop-down options. We now have completed step 2. Let's proceed to the next step, encoding of part 1, the COT and IPCRF QET ratings. Here are the activities involved: COT ratings, QET ratings, and then finally finalizing part 1. So here, let's go back to the encoding tab and let's look at part 1. Below the raters information or the ratees information, we have 4 COT columns. Let's focus on the first one. At the beginning, all COT columns are disabled except for COT1. Now you will know that this is enabled because you have a cell at the top that's colored white. This allows you to select a drop-down option from among the identified subjects. Once you select a subject, the rating column will be enabled. Again, you will confirm that the column or the cells are enabled because they have turned white. For the proficient form, this column will accept values from 3 to 7. For the highly proficient form, it will accept values 4 to 8. The second column, the RPMS 5-point scale, will be automatically populated based on the input on the rating column. After inputting the rating, you need to input the date of observation at the bottom. This field accepts dates beginning June 3, 2019, using this format. After entering the date of observation, the rater will then click the Lock COD1 button, which prompts for the rater's password. The rater will then nominate or set a password with minimum 6 characters. This password will be used later when locking other COT columns and finalizing part 1, so it's important that the rater must not forget this. After confirming the password, the rater will click the Go button. This locks COT1 and enables COT2. A little reminder, COT columns are disabled until the previous COT has been locked. For example, when COT1 was locked, COT2 is enabled. In other words, you must input the COT ratings sequentially from COT1, 2, 3, and 4. Note that COT columns are not required, meaning if you do not have data for a particular COT column, you do not need to input them. Next, after finishing encoding of COT ratings, we then encode the QET ratings. It's at this part right here. Notice that we have some colored cells. You only need to input on the white cells. These cells accept whole numbers from 1 to 5. Input the ratings for the QET columns. After that, we need to finalize part 1. And to do that, we must input the date of review back in the rater's information. As I've said earlier, this field is not required until finalizing part 1. After entering the date of review, input the approving authority, name, and position. Then, the rater will click Finalize Part 1 button, which prompts for the rater's password that was previously set. Input the rater's password and click Go. This locks Part 1. You will confirm that Part 1 has been finalized because the background color has turned red. At this point, the rater transfers the file to the ratee. So, we've completed steps 1, 2, and 3, and now let's discuss the last one, encoding of parts 2 and 4 by the ratee. Okay, here are the steps involved. Let's begin with finalizing part 2. Back in the encoding tab, below the part 1 is the part 2 form. The ratee only need to tick on the boxes of the competency indicators that he or she has demonstrated during the performance cycle. After ticking all the appropriate boxes, the ratee will then click Finalize Part 2, which prompts for a ratee's password. Now, this is separate from the rater's password that was set by the rater earlier. This one, the ratee will think of a new password. Again, minimum of 6 characters. This password will be used later in finalizing or unfinalizing parts 2 and 4. After confirming the password, the ratee will click on the Go button, which locks part 2. Again, you will confirm that part 2 has been locked or finalized because the screen or the background color has turned red. Finally, the ratee opens part 4 and encodes his or her development plans. After encoding, at the bottom, the ratee will click Finalize Part 4 button, which will again prompt for the ratee's password that he or she set when finalizing Part 2. After inputting the ratee's password, click the Go button, and that should lock Part 4. And that finishes all the steps we need to do in accomplishing the IPCRF electronic tool. For the next part, the ratee will give the file back to the rater or the school head for the online submission. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Salamat po, Sir Kevin. Salamat for that. So first question from the FAQs. As a start, using the file, some features seem not working properly. What shall I do? Kanina na-explain na po ito ni Sir Kevin na there are versions of the MS Office na nare-require siya. It should be MS Office 2010 or newer, and you have to ensure that you have enabled the macros. Second is, who initiate the accomplishment of IPCRF? By the protocol, it's the rater who will do the encoding for the fields including teacher, rater, region, division, school demographics, COT, and QET. However, because of this COVID situation and we have uploaded the materials na wala na sila sa mga schools, so this time we allow that the ratee or the teacher shall be the one to input her demographics and also the COT. The thing that the rater shall do is to ensure that the information encoded or recorded are accurate and correct during the rater-ratee conference. So to make it easy for the rater, kasi ang follow-up na question ito, sir, what if I have 400 teachers? Does it mean, kasi ang sinabi is one IPCRF, one teacher, does it mean that I have to copy and replicate 400 times the IPCRF? The answer is yes. You have to replicate it 400 times. Pero meron naman tayong shortcut on that. To ensure na hindi ka paulit-ulit sa mga common na mga entries, before replicating or duplicating the file, first you need to fill out the region, division, school information in the rightmost column of the demographics para pag-replicate mo, o konti na lang yung i-input mo. Don't worry, we're going to upload that in BHROD Facebook page para po matulungan lahat ng mga tao sa field. Next question is that, the field for the proficient teacher, ito naman, itong tanong is, Sir, bakit yung IPCRF nyo is para lang sa mga proficient, teacher 1, 2, 3? Bakit walang pang highly proficient? Kasi color green kasi yung IPCRF nyo. By default, pag-download nyo po ng file, nasa default siya na teachers 1, 2, 3. But if you're going to change the position field, change it to master teacher, automatically nababago yung IPCRF tool natin. Instead of teacher 1, 2, 3, magta-transform siya into master teacher 1. We made it easy. One download lang, pag-click mo lang sa lahat ng mga field, pag na-accomplish mo yun, it will be changed and it will be reformatted accordingly kung ano yung kailangan mong format. Next, sir, paano po pag may drop-down? The drop-down options for school, for level thoughts and grade level thought do not appear. Wala daw. Pag kinlik nila, wala daw. It could be, kasi yun nga sinabi ni Sir, ni Sir Kevin, that we should be careful in filling out the curriculum classification. Kasi the curriculum classification has an implication doon sa cell or doon sa field ng level taught and grade level taught. So we have to be careful. Kung elementary, dapat elementary lang. Pag senior high lang, kasi mag-change at mag-change ulit yun. Another question, I am a senior high school teacher. What option shall I choose on subject taught? The answer is that you select the discipline directly related to senior high school subjects that you are teaching. Then another question, ito yung nagkakalituhan na. Sir, ano yung pipiliin namin sa school size? Ano po yung parameters? Ano po yung basis natin? So for the sole purpose of IPCRF for school year 2019 and 2020, the school size parameters will adhere to the existing 2020 Brigada Eskwela Implementing Guidelines or refer it to DepEd Memorandum 32 Series of 2020. And to give you image of that, ito po. So for small, medium, and large schools, wala pong problema kasi we had been practicing that. Pero sa Brigada Eskwela, the fourth classification is mega school. That mega school is equivalent to the very large school in the IPCRF. And another set of questions. There are restrictions in the employee number. What shall I do? The IPCRF na updated version uploaded on May 4, 2020, wala na pong restriction yung ating employee number. Kahit na nagsisimula ka sa 0, automatic i-accept yun. Next question. Which will I choose? In level taught or grade level taught, subject taught, ano po yung pipiliin ko, sir? Nagtuturo ako ng English and Filipino, pero sa inyo, isa lang yung pipiliin. Ano po yung priority? Ano po natin pina-prioritize yun? First is, pag level taught, example, if I am a teacher, a senior high school teacher, but at the same I am teaching in the junior high, ano yung pipiliin ko, sir? So first priority is you go back to the plantilla or your original appointment. If you're appointed as senior high school teacher, senior high school yung ititik mo. If you are hired as a junior high school teacher, ang i-click mo naman ay si junior high. Yun yung ating preference. Second option is that, paano naman, ano naman yung pipiliin ko kung marami, multiple subjects yung tinuturo ko. So ito po yung basis natin. First is, majority number of teaching load. So kung ano yung pinakamaraming teaching load mo, yun po yung pipiliin niyo po. Okay? So yun. Next. Sir, may problema ako. Hindi ko may inputan si parts 1, 2, and 3. May problema po talaga yung IPCRF ninyo. Wala pong problema si IPCRF. Kasi po, nakadesign po si IPCRF na yung i-entryhan natin are only the sheets encoding and part 4. Yun lang po yung ating may inputan. Don't worry with parts 1, 2, and 3 kasi pag na-accomplish nyo na si encoding part, automatic may entry na din si parts 1, 2, and 3. Yun, next question. What if I did not complete all 4 classroom observations? According to DepEd Memorandum 45, Series 2020, instead of asking for classroom COTs, tatlo na lang po. Yes, tatlo na lang po. Kasi we have calibrated it, knowing that there is a pandemic, may outbreak po tayo sa 4th quarter, specifically sa month of March, kaya baka may isang teacher na nagpa-schedule siya ng March pero naabutan ng lockdown. So hindi niya nakumpleto tuloy yung 4 COTs niya. Don't worry because DepEd Memorandum 45 Series 2020 says that okay lang na tatlo lang yung COT mo. Don't worry. Kasi, sir, ang problema kasi, sir, sa 4th COT, sir, nandun yung objective number 9 na kung saan hindi mo siya ma-observe sa COT 1, COT 2, and COT 3. Ano pong gagawin namin doon? We'll leave it blank? No po. DM 45 Series 2020 says that don't worry teachers, we are going to give you a perfect rating for indicator 9. Ayun po yung sagot natin. For teachers with 4 COTs, meron po tayong dalawang decisions on that. Example, if I am a teacher na nagpa-observe ng 4 na beses ng school year, for school year 2019-2020, at nakita ko yung pang-4 na COT ko, nung kinumpute namin together with the rater, nakita namin na naging disadvantage siya. Naging mas mababa tuloy yung rating ko kasi sinama ko si 4th COT. Ano po yung gagawin, sir? So, ang decision po natin dyan is that you can decide, si rater and ratee, both must agree whether to include COT4 in the IPCRF. Pwede po silang mag-decide ng ganun. Pwede po nilang i-decidean yun. If makakatulong yung COT4 para ma-improve yung rating ni teacher, kumbaga, we're going to put the teacher in the advantage side, in the advantageous side, i-include mo yung COT4. Pero, if magiging mababa yung score niya because of COT4, huwag mo na lang i-include. Kasi nga, magiging unfair yun sa teacher na merong 4 na COT na mas mababa yung score sa pang-4 at doon naman sa teacher na 3 lang yung COT niya at mas malaki yung rating niya. Diba po? So kaya po, pag-agrihan nyo ang COT4 kung dapat bang i-include or dapat bang hindi na lang i-include. Basta lang, we're going to put the teacher in the advantageous side. This time po, we are going to talk about the IPCRF data submission mode and monitoring. Everyone, please, especially the HR people, please focus your attention in this because this is new. Dito po makikita natin kung paano kadali mag-monitor. Please help me welcome to discuss the electronic IPCRF data submission and monitoring, the Regional ITO Region 9, Sir Jekyll Kadungog. Sir Jekyll.
Thank you, Sir Carlos. Good morning to all. I am Jekyll Kadungog, ITO of Region 9. So my task now is to present and also demo the IPCRF data collection and monitoring system. So before going to the demonstration and the steps on how to do it, so I just want to have a quick info about this system. So this system is a web application made in Google Apps script intended for the collection of an accomplished prescribed IPCR form file and data. So basically, the application is made through JavaScript, HTML, and our storage for the files submitted by the users is the Google Drive. and serves as our database, our Google Sheet, and yun po. So we are very sure for the security of our data. Okay. So I just want to show you how this system works. First is that from the previous session that you have, hopefully you have a initial accomplishment of this IPCRF file or IPCRF form that will be used for uploading later on during the hands-on simulation. So first, principal or school head, meron po siyang assigned personnel serves as the uploader, and after that, our SDO HRDs can monitor the division-wide submissions, and as well as RO HRDD monitors the region-wide submissions, and also the BHROD HRDD can monitor the the nationwide submissions. So we have separated links for the submission and also for the monitoring. So if you notice, separated po yung links because para po mas madali yung hindi na po wala pong maraming kuskus balungos. Just type the URL and there you go. So paalala lang po that this system, you can only use this system if you are using DepEd email. So hindi po pwede yung ibang email address na gamitin natin. So medyo strict tayo dito kasi we are gathering information of our teachers. So these are the quick steps on how to submit or how to access and submit the complete IPCRF form. So first is you need to open the link provided. So yung link nandyan sa baba, you can use that. You can reserve that link because that link will be served as our or will be used during the simulation process. Okay. So once you open the link and it will ask you your login details. So first is you need to type your DepEd email and provide your password. And if you're done, and it will prompt you this window. So this is now the interface, the primary interface of our data collections or IPSRF data collection system. So wherein it displays in compliance with Data Privacy Act and also what is the purpose of this system. So if you notice there, we have the upload IPCRF file here and view submissions. So this interface, the uploader can browse the files and view the submissions. So first is this upload IPCRF file here. And so you need to click the IPCRF or the upload IPCRF file, and during sa rollout po natin, we'll instruct the schools that they will organize their files para during the uploading hindi po sila mahihirapan. Okay? So as of this time, okay, now if after clicking the upload IPCRF file here, so it will prompt you a dialog box wherein it will serve as a new window and search the directory of those IPCRF files. So, yan. So as of the the batch 2, mayroon pong nagtanong na pwede po ba batch uploading. So this system for now is accepts individual uploading of the file. So mamaya I will explain kung bakit siya. Okay? So the system has different conditions to meet. No? If you did not meet the condition, then meron pong mga warnings na lalabas. So if your file is complete and finalize all the parts of it, kanina sinabi ni Sir Kevin na you need to finalize COT part 1, part 2, part 4. So yun yung mga condition na dapat i-meet po natin bago po lalabas yung success. Kasi pag hindi po na-finalize yung part 2, okay, the system detects that part 2 is not finalized. So all you have to do is to return the file and inform the rater that he or she must finalize the file and Pag na-finalize na niya, then resubmit and rebrowse that file again. Okay? Yan. So another warning is that the version error. So as Sir Carlos said, that you need to download, or the teacher or the school or yung assigned rater will download the latest version, because there are some updates on that file. So if you're using the old version, system also detects that that is an old version, and it will not allow or it will not accept the file browsed. Okay. And another one is that, okay, I'll just go back a little bit. So if the system detects that you're using old version of the IPCRF file, so it will prompt you to download the latest version. Just click download file and fill up, finalize, and encode, finalize, and browse again. Okay. So file error. So there are some cases when you browse the file, when you click the upload, it will the default is it will search the .xlsm file, wherein that is the prescribed extension for our file. But there are some very techy person that they will try to browse other files, other Excel file. So it will prompt you this file error, that it will say here that the file selected is not DepEd prescribed IPCRF file. So again, it will prompt you to download the file, the latest, or the prescribed and the latest. So ayan, that XLS, this is an Excel file. So basically, hindi po tatanggapin ni system. And SLXX, hindi po niya tatanggapin. Ang tatanggapin lang niya is this .xlsm extension of our file. So that is the very, very quick submission. So unlike last year, na marami pong process to consolidate, download, and save, consolidate. But this time, all you have to do is browse, finalize yung IPCRF form, and then submit. So once the form is, or the file is complete, now the system will automatically show the submit button. So once the submit button will appear, that's the time. So meaning your file is ready to upload, and then click submit. And the system, for the information of everybody, that the system will collect initially all the data from that form before uploading and before saving to our database. So the system will check all the information is correct, and mayroon pong mga restrictions na nakaset up dyan to verify that your file or the information is really correct upon during the encoding process. So mayroon pong view submissions, wherein I'll show you mamaya what are these functions for view submissions. Okay. Yeah. So after submitting, it will now prompt you, wait for this congratulations, meaning that file is already uploaded. So minsan magkamali tayo na mag-click or ma-browse again the uploaded file. So the system also will detect that that file is already uploaded. Okay. Ayan. So are you ready now for the actual demonstration? Very simple steps ang yung sa slides ko, and I will put premium on the demonstration. So ang prescribed po na browser na gamitin natin is Google Chrome, since yung system po natin is gawa from the Google applications. So actual demonstration na po. So yan po. After I just skip on the process of logging in, since nakalagin na ako to have yung time po natin medyo hinahabol tayo. So ayan po. Very quick view lang po sa screen. You have the privacy notice and also the active email. So make sure lang po yung uploader po natin is siya yung nakalagin kasi. Kasi pag iba yung nakalagin, lalabas din yung active email dito. So si system na po ang mag-identify ng email na yan. Okay? So make sure yung uploader tama yung email address, at saka pag hindi po ginamit yung repeat email, hindi talaga siya makarating dito sa page na to. Okay. So first, I have 3 example file. No? So all you have to do is to click on this button, upload IPCRF file here, and it will browse, or it will then search Okay, search the file. So I am now browsing sample file unfinalized. There are some part of the IPCRF file na hindi po siya na-finalize. Either part 1, either part 2, or part 4. So we'll try kung anong lalabas dyan sa okay? So yan. So nakita po, sorry, the system detected incomplete action in the form selected. Please see below for details. So mayroon pong hindi naka-finalize yan is the part 4. So ayan, sinabi ko kanina, all you have to do is to go back to the rater and tell her or him na hindi po na-finalize yung part 4 and dahil kailangan po ipa-finalize kasi hindi tatanggapin sa system. Okay? So once click OK and finalize that file. So ayan. Other example also is that version kasi mayroong na-release na version previously or prior May 4. So mayroong ding error, mayroong ding warning na you are browsing the old version of the file. Yan. So cancel to browse again and download the file if kailangan mo gamitin yung latest one. Okay. And another one is that we'll try this if this example number 3. Okay. So pasado po sa first warning. Ayan. Yan. So meaning this file is finalized and ready to upload. So and also hindi pa po na-upload ang file na to. So we'll try to upload this. Okay. Okay. And as what I have said, mayroon pong submit button na lalabas automatically. So click submit and we will just wait. Okay, uploading. Please wait. System is uploading your file. So sinesave po yung file mismo at saka yung data ng or laman po ng file doon sa database at saka doon sa storage na Google Drive natin. So we will just wait for this dialog or for this warning, for this alert na congratulations, your IPSF data has been uploaded successfully. Okay? So now, after submitting it, mayroon pong submit data and view submission list. Okay? So before the view submission list, upload ako, halimbawa ako yung uploader, i-upload ko ulit, mag-upload ako ulit ako ng file ng teacher. So this time, I will try to browse again the file that I just have uploaded earlier. So, browse ko siya. Okay. So ano pong lalabas? So correct ang version, tama po yung extension. So ganito po yung lalabas pag ganun yung na-meet yung condition. But, ayan, mayroon pong isang warning na the selected file is already uploaded. Please check your file. Okay? So it negates the redundancy of the file to be uploaded, no? So we just make sure na lahat po ng file wala pong magkakadoble doon sa loob ng storage natin. So we are very sure na lahat po ng nasa database na nakalista ay they are unique and authentic file or data uploaded. Okay? So yun po. So next is that view submissions. So dito makikita mo, okay, once you click view submissions, please select first your region. Okay, select muna yung region kung saan ako. Okay. And wait, I'm using region 11, Davao region for my sample files. Okay. So I'll just click, after clicking my region, click view. So system now is loading all the lists you submitted. Okay. Now, system found five records you submitted. Okay, paalala lang po, in this portion, the list you are the list being displayed here, yung sinubmit mo lang. So halimbawa sa isang school, mayroong 3 uploader, hindi mo makita yung in-upload sa isang uploader. So yung sinubmit mo lang. Yan. Yun po yung mga restrictions dito. Now, nandyan, mayroon pong nakalagay submissions, meaning you have 5 submissions. Nakalagay yung region, yung division mo, at saka yung school ID and school name of your school. Okay? To make sure na nasa tamang school ka. Kasi minsan nagkamali tayo and minsan hindi na natama yung mga mali natin. No? So, ayan. Okay, ayan. Now, you have the action, na mayroon kayong action na to delete. Example, may mali na finalize pero mayroon palang nakalimutan, may COT pala yung isang teacher na hindi niya nalagay doon. Halimbawa may COT1, COT2 lang, tapos mayroon pa palang COT3. Example lang, no, those scenario. Example lang yan. So, pwede niya, na-upload na siya, and you are going to browse again that file of the teacher. Hindi tatanggapin ni system kasi nandito na siya. So, all you have to do is that delete that file, no, kanina. So, halimbawa kanina ito yung in-upload ko. So, I will now delete this, okay? So, the system asks you, are you sure na you want to delete? So, automatic po si system mag-i-delete na yung file uploaded sa Google Drive and yung data ni teacher sa Google Sheet sa database po natin. Okay? So, yes, delete it and wait for the mayroon pong lalabas dyan mamaya. Okay, wait. Ayan. So, meaning, deleted na po yung file na yan. Okay? So, we'll try if that file is deleted and pwede na ba mag-resubmit si uploader. So, ayan. So, 4 na lang, kanina 5. So, we'll click submit data and browse natin ulit yung file ni teacher na mayroong revision. So, ayan. Ayan, okay? So, tinanggap na ni system yung file na yon kasi deleted na sa database po natin. Okay, so submit. So, yun po yung kagandahan po ng view submissions. So, ayan. So, nakita po natin dyan sa screen na mayroon pong teacher's name. So, wala pong entry na gagawin si uploader para to avoid mga clerical errors during the entry process. So, lahat po galing sa file na in-upload po natin. So, we should inform our teachers or mga raters na they are very keen on encoding and selecting the region of their file before replicate or duplicating that for their teachers. Okay, so ayan, Sir Kaloy, I think I am now ready to have the simulation. Okay, so you have 5 minutes to do the simulation. Okay po ba? So ayan, your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. Ayan, 10, 9. Okay. Ayan.
2, 1, and time's
Okay,
up.
time's up po. Okay, time's up. Okay. So focus now on the screen. Okay, let's now move to the IPCRF data collection and monitoring system, the monitoring process. Okay. Now, this is a very simple step na for the monitoring. So, ang mag-a-access lang po ng monitoring si SDO, RO at saka CO. So, sa school level, wala pong monitoring sa school level. I mean, si principal, makikita lang niya, mayroon din siyang monitoring process doon sa baba, pero yung sa view submissions lang ng mga uploaders. But for analytics on the submissions, dito po sa monitoring from SDO up to CO. So, ayan, provided the link. Take note the link, mamaya po i-comment yan ni Sir Angelo, yung link na yan para diretso na kayo maklik at saka it will redirect you to the system. So again, gagamitin po natin yung DepEd email address. Always po yan. Provide the login details. Kahit hindi siya nag-provide, provide login details. Okay. And it will prompt you to the next interface, which is this dashboard. Ayan. So yung nagtatanong kanina, mayroon ba tayong numbers on the monitor the numbers of submission per school, per division, region. Okay. So this time I am viewing now. Okay, on your screen the division office dashboard. So the division office dashboard. Okay. If you notice, nakalagay po dyan. So mayroon pong restriction sa pag-access. So yung mga registered email addresses lang po ang makapag-access nito. So basically, ang mga ATO po na nandito ngayon, hindi po makapag-access. Okay? Kasi we'll practice on the yung sa rules responsibility po. So ngayon, nandiyan po nakalagay yung pangalan, yung email address, anong region kayo at saka anong division. So Division Office Dashboard, ito makikita po dyan is mayroon po yung graph status by school. So makikita nyo dyan per submission, no? And yung lahat ng schools na nandyan, okay? And also the quick data on ilang teachers po in your division, since division siya, ilang teachers po ang nasubmit na sa division nyo, at saka ilang schools ang nakapag-submit. You have now the number. So dynamic po siya upon submission of the uploader, automatic po mag-change yung data dyan. Make sure na i-refresh nyo lang yung page. Okay? So sa baba, you have now the list of the IPCRF, the data of a teacher uploaded. So filtered po, ang nakalagay lang po dyan is yung region, division, school ID, school, at saka names ng teacher and also submitted by. Para makita po natin na ma-filter natin. Okay? So since division-wide siya, so you cannot filter other division but your division only. And since dito nakalagay, filter school ID, so ito po, kung gusto po natin makikita kung ilang school po ang ilang teachers sa isang school na nakapag-submit, so just filter the school ID. Pag hindi natin alam yung school ID, filter the school name. So marami tayong option. Tsaka gusto mo na gusto mong malaman if yung IPCRF file ng isang teacher is already on the system. So pwede mo i-search yung pangalan ng teacher dito. And syempre, magtanong si principal kung ilan yung na-submit. Mayroon din namang interface doon sa submission, pero this time sa SDO level, mayroon po tayong option to filter yung mga uploaders. Okay? So ayan. So ito lang yung interface. Ma-monitor natin yung number of schools submitted and teacher submissions. So ayan. So minimalist lang po yung interface po natin. Actual demonstration.
While waiting po for switching of screen, meron pong tanong dito, may concern siya, 2 COT lang. So ano yung mangyayari? Kasi ang teacher naka-maternity leave, tapos biglang nag-sick leave, at ano pang mga leave. So ano yung mangyayari? 2 COT lang, what recommendation? Assist po, kung 2 COT lang pong i-accomplish and just leave it blank, si COT 3 at COT 4. Wala pong problema dyan po. Yan, dito na po si Sir Jack. Sir Jack?
Okay po, thank you. So, yung sa slides ko, yung dashboard is sa division level. So, makita po natin isang graph lang po yun kasi makikita nyo doon is yung schools lang ang makikita nyo sa division nyo. But for the regional level, dalawang graph, makita ninyo yung submissions by division and sa school. So, ayun. And also, same, kanina sa SDO, dalawa lang yung nandun, teachers and schools. So ngayon, for the regional level, meron pong teachers, schools, and divisions. So ilang teachers ang nakapag-submit within your region, ilang schools ang nakapag-submit within your region, at saka ilang divisions ang nakapag-submit within your regions. So the same process, meron din pong filter sa regional office to filter yung submissions po. So, yun lang, ma-monitor po natin yung submissions. And once you're going to hover or ipo-point nyo yung mouse dyan sa graph na yan, makita nyo, halimbawa, si Sama City, ilang submissions, just hover and it will display the number of submissions within Samala City. 4. Davao naman is 1. For sa school, si Sample ES, isa, at saka si Angel Villarica Central School, 4. So yun po yung simple monitoring of the submissions. Ang tanong kanina, ito po ang hopefully ito yung or nasagot po yung katanungan mo by through this dashboard or through this monitoring system. Okay? So ayan, simple lang. Log in and there you go, you have the dashboard. Okay? So, again, simulation. Ready? Sir Kaloy, simulation na po.
Okay po, sige po, simulation po tayo. Ano yung makikita nyo in your dashboard after all the teachers have submitted their IPCRF? So, ang tanong ko dito while preparing, Sir Peter, ang tanong niya, who can access the monitoring site? Access denied kasi, hindi ko ma-open. As of the moment po, si HRDD chief at saka si SGOD chief with the HR SEPs and and supervisor, sila lang po ang may access niyan. And if you are the SGOD chief po right now, tapos di kayo maka-access, perhaps yung email niyo po na right now you are using is not the DepEd email. Kasi as of the moment, we already have enrolled the email ads addresses of the SGOD chief and EPS together with the HRDD chief of the region and the EPS po. Na doon na po sa monitoring site po natin yung mga email addresses. So yun po yung mga possible reasons kung bakit access denied po.
You have 5 minutes to accomplish the dashboard.
Sabi ni Sir Vicente, hindi niya daw hindi niya daw ma-access Sir Jekyll. So pa-enlighten sila Sir Jekyll, ba't hindi nila ma-access?
Okay. You're using same po sa sinasabi po ni Sir Angelo na registered po. So and also check your the email if that is a DepEd email or Gmail yung naka-active po diyan. Okay. And also if mayroon po SGOD chief at saka yung dalawa lang po ang pwede makapag-access ng dashboard po natin. Okay? So hopefully all of the participants na nakapag-check, and also please keep this link, yung hindi pa try na mag-fill up doon sa form, try nyo fill up and submit and monitor. So kung makikita po ba. So ayan. So I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much and have a great day. And Sir Carlos, we'll give back to you. Thank you po.
Ayun. Okay po, salamat po Sir Jekyll. So nakita niyo po, yun si Sir Jekyll. Siya po yung nag-design together with Sir Kevin and the rest of the ICT team. Dito the designing of the collection and also the monitoring. This time we just want to make everything easy for everyone. Yun po yung gusto po natin. Okay, so this time we'll do the ways forward kung ano yung i-expect, ano yung darating, ano yung titingnan natin. So I'll give you Sir Angelo Uwe from the PHROT.
Hello po, good morning everyone. I'm just flashing this screen kasi po may mga questions po tayo nakita kanina regarding clarifications on who to do which tasks. So again, sa accomplishment po ng IPCRF from Sir Kevin session, pakitignan na lang po ulit ang mga tasks and functions of the raters and the ratee. Okay. And based from Sir Jekyll's session po, may mga nakita po ako nagka-clarify kung sino po talaga ang gagamit ng submission link at sino gagamit ng monitoring link. So please take note po na yung orange na box is for the submission link. So meaning principal, school head, or assigned or designated personnel po ang magsasubmit. Hindi po per teacher ang submission. So again all the proceedings po sa ating webinar ngayon will be included in the memo po na ilalabas natin as regards the year-end review for RPMS 2019-2020. Tapos yung green box naman po, ayan, ang monitoring po ay para lamang po kay SDO HRDS, kay RO HRDD at kay BHROD HRDD. Ayan po. So I have flashed 2 slides po from our previous session so that we can again recall what we have agreed upon. Sige po, punta po tayo sa roles and responsibilities at each governance level. So sa school level po, na governance level, ang ating po mga focal office or persons ay ang ratees, ang raters at ang school head. So as you can see in the slide, the third column are the tasks and activities for school year 2018-2019. So yan po ay nung nakaraang school year po. Ayan po ang mga ginawa ng ating mga focal offices and persons. But let me direct your attention now to the last column, colored blue. These are now the tasks and activities for school year 2019-2020. So for phases 3 and 4 na hindi nga po natin na carried out gawa ng nagkaroon po tayo ng pandemic na ito. So for ratees and raters, so they will collaboratively. First, the ratee will finalize the RPMS portfolio, submit this portfolio for the evaluation of the rater, and then the ratee and the rater will accomplish the IPCRF as mentioned by Sir Kevin earlier, and they will agree on the final IPCR rating. So hindi po nawawala ang agreement kahit na ang rater ang nag-accomplish ng part 1 ng encoding tab of the IPCRF. And then collaboratively, they will do development planning and conference to discuss phase 4 IPCRF development plan. For the school head, siya po at saka pwede pong mag-designate ng around 2 or 3 representatives para sa harvesting of electronic and printed IPCRFs of all teachers, and then they will submit the electronic IPCRF to the CO via the online IPCRF data collection system discussed by Sir Jekyll. And then the printed IPCRFs will be submitted to the SDO for signing of approving authority if needed and or for filing. Now, for the SDO and the RO levels, halos parehas po ang ating tasks and activities for the phase 3 and 4 of the RPMS cycle for the school year 2019-2020. The focal office or person for the SDO is the Human Resource Development Section, and then the School Governance and Operations Division Chief. Last year po, kayo po ay mayroon tayo dati na separate na consolidation file na nagko-consolidate ng IPCRF data na sinabit ng mga schools. Pero ngayon po, ang gagawin na lang po natin for the last column is to monitor the IPCRF submission of schools. I have seen in the comment section kanina paano meron bang facility sa sistemang ito na mag-consolidate ng data. So later on, makikita nyo po kung sinong magko-consolidate talaga po ng mga data since nawalan tayo ng consolidation tool as we have practiced last school year. So again, monitoring po tayo sa SDO level. Now for the RO level, the focal officer person is the Regional Human Resource Development Division or the RO HRDD and the HRDD Chief. So parehas po ng sa SDO, simultaneous po nating pwedeng i-access ang monitoring dashboard at mag-monitor po tayo ng IPCRF submission of the SDOs. Take note po na the other invited personnel in this webinar, particularly the division or the regional RPMS focal persons and the information technology officers, are requested to provide technical assistance on RPMS related issues and technical issues respectively. And advance na po na pasasalamat po para sa kanilang technical assistance ay po-provide sa ating mga DepEd personnel who are involved in the RPMS. Now, for the central office level, the focal officer person are the BHROD, HRDD, and the NAIAP Performance Management Unit and the Professional Development Division. So, on the last column, the task and activity for the central office level for this school year, 2019-2020, are the following. First, they can simultaneously monitor the IPCRF submission na katulad ng ginagawa ng SDO sa kanang RO. And then, ito po yung part ng consolidation. Ang CO na po ang mag-a-analyze at mag-i-interpret ng national IPCRF data. So we are being assisted by the RCTQ, the Research Center for Teacher Quality based in PNU, the University of New England, and CIMER based in Australia. So sila na po ang mag-analyze at mag-interpret na ating national IPCRF data, and then this analysis and interpretation will then be submitted to the NAIAP for HR development planning, copy furnished to SDOs and ROs. So we'll be updating you regarding this kung kaya po nating maibaba agad ang mga results ng consolidation for your perusal. Now, the following slides are some tips on how we can analyze the summary results of IPCRF data when we are in the school as school heads or division personnel in the division or regional HR personnel in the region. So based on the existing DepEd Order number 2 series of 2015, these are the uses of the results of the RPMS ratings. So the ratings are essential for the raters for that use, identifying, providing the kinds of interventions needed. For BHROD and NAIAP, yan po ang use natin. For performance management team, ayan po ang use ng results of the RPMS ratings. And for the praise committee, to determine top performers of the agency. Also, in the school level, these questions can be answered as soon as we receive the analysis of the results. So first, how many teachers got which rating and in which objective at each position or subject area? Which objectives should be considered as L&D priorities based on the school-wide consolidated IPCRF data? And what L&D activities and programs can be developed to immediately address the needs of teachers? And how can the school head improve his or her instructional supervision plan or mechanism to support his or her teachers? So these questions can be answered as soon as we receive the results in the school level. In the SDO, RO, and CO levels, so we can answer this question, which objectives should be considered as L&D priorities? And what interventions can be provided to schools to support and improve the teachers in terms of, for example, content and pedagogy, curriculum delivery, and coaching and mentoring. To summarize and to highlight the importance of RPMS data, we can get the strengths and priority for development of teachers from the RPMS data that will lead us to providing L&D opportunities so we can do needs analysis, intervention, and delivery, and ultimately for professional development activities and rewards and incentives. Also, after this webinar, may I remind everyone that you may do online capacity building or orientation activities for school heads, raters, and teachers. So you may also do a similar webinar for them so that since they are the initial users of our data collection system. Also, please kindly watch out for the release of the following memoranda. First, memo on the year-end RPMS 2019-2020 activities. So these activities are actually the activities that you have seen in the table that we have discussed earlier on the roles and responsibilities. But in the memo that we will be releasing, there will be the indications of the adjusted timelines. The second memorandum is the memo on RPMS 2020-2021. That is for the next school year. How will RPMS be done for year 2 of the RPMS and given the new normal and the COVID-19 situation? And the last is the memo on RPMS calendar year 2020. So we will be highlighting there what adjustments should we do for RPMS for non-school-based personnel for the rating period of calendar year 2020. So I think, Sir Kaloy, Sir Carlos, this is everything that BHROD, HRDD needs to remind our participants regarding our ways forward.
Yes, thank you for that, Sir Angelo. As promised, we will be sending through a Google Drive all the slides in this webinar, also a copy of the Google Meet videos, and IPCRF Data Collection System User Guide. Also, all other related materials that we see very important for the IPCRF Data Collection and Monitoring System. Kung nakita namin kailangan yun, we're going to attach that in the Google Drive that we will be sending you. Again, the email that we'll be using are the emails that you have registered during the directory collection that we had earlier. Hindi po sa registration, but yun sa yung directory po na hiningi namin earlier po. Ayun. Another thing, ito pong webinar na ito ay nangangailangan po ng evaluation, and your evaluation is also one of the ways for you to get your digital certificate po. So, on your screen, makikita nyo po yung link. Yan po yung link for the evaluation, and also after filling it out, by Friday perhaps or next week, we will be sending you your digital certificate. So, accomplishment will be until May 15, 2020 po. Also, if you want to be updated with the materials that you will be using, please visit these following links. These are the latest and the most updated materials for RPMS 2019-2020. For more queries, information, and suggestion, or even question, please don't hesitate to email at helpdesk.rpms@deped.gov.ph. And don't forget to follow our Facebook page, DepEd BHROD. Doon po natin ina-upload yung mga updates at mga bagong kaganapan para po sa ating mga HR practitioner po. And we would like also to acknowledge RCTQ, University of New England, and CIMER. Sila po ay nandito ngayon. They are witnessing this webinar po. And also, we cannot forget to thank these people. Sila po yung mga naunang nag-isip, online innovations na ginawa po natin. So, from ICTS, from BHROD, formerly Sir Rosero, si Sir Maui po, the former PDO3, who is assigned for RPMS. And of course, ang pinakamaganda, pinaka-sexy PDO4 namin sa BHROD, si Ma'am Cecil. Together with ITO officers all over the Philippines. Sila pong bumuo ng online tool po natin. Salamat po sa inyo. Ayun. So to close, as the phase of change increases in every aspects of our lives, HR professionals have become change champions in many companies around the world. And this has generally been much in their employers' advantage, according to the individual risk. Please just remember that we're doing all this for our teachers. We're doing all this for our learners. We're doing this to better serve the Department of Education and our workers. Magandang umaga po, HR practitioners. Magandang umaga po mga kapatid at mga kaibigan. Thank you og maayong buntag sa tanan.